Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. If you were here last night, drop a comment in the chat. Let me know that you are back. If you are here for the first time, also let me know that you're here. I'm so excited to welcome you back to Pivot with Purpose, Night 2. Tonight, we are going to continue our conversation that we started. This is a 3-day live series that I created for early career women because I understand how challenging it can be to navigate the ebbs and the flows of career growth. If you can understand that, if that is something that resonates with you, drop it in the chat and say, yes, that's me. This early career series is specifically designed for women. I think that many professionals understand the kind of practical things that are involved with early career growth and how to navigate that. Resumes, interviews, networking, all of those things. But I think the thing that most early career women are not taught how to navigate are really the emotional and identity shifts that come with early career growth. So enter this series and why I designed it specifically for you. And I hope that it resonates with you. And, share this stream with somebody. The live from yesterday is on my page. I also uploaded it to my YouTube channel, which is just Maria Ton Tate on YouTube. I'd love for you to share this with any woman who you believe that it might help. My name is Maria Ton Tate, and I'm passionate about helping women understand the inner work of career growth so that they can own their next career pivot with clarity, confidence, and alignment. Again, thank you so much for joining in. I'm so glad that you're here. Last night, I talked about 3 lessons that I learned from my early career journey, and I wanted to recap one of them before we get into tonight's content. So one lesson that I shared last night that I learned very early on in my career is the difference between a transitional role and a pivotal role. And what I mean by that is I identified that those transitional roles are typically entry-level roles. They're typically the roles that you get, right when you graduate from school. They allow you to gain experience, exposure, skills, but they may not necessarily align with your degree or with what you envision for yourself. They may not necessarily be that dream job. Right? And that is okay. That is totally okay. They're really just there so that you can gain the experience, exposure, and skills. The pivotal roles, on the other hand, are roles that, allow you to gain deeper influence and impact. Hopefully by the time you get to those pivotal roles, that it's sort of starting to hone in on what's really important to you, what you see yourself doing long term. One of the things that I learned early on in my career is that you cannot stay in a transitional role forever. Oftentimes, if you do, you might become complacent or stifled. And so it's really important. And my guess is that this is why this content resonates with you if you're here, if you're watching this live or the recording, that you are ready for that pivotal role. You're ready to pivot, but you just aren't sure how or where to. Tonight, we're going to be talking about some myths that many early career women believe. Before we get into those, I also last night gave a challenge to create an affirmation, a truth that you're holding with you in this season of your career, no matter where you are in the pivot. I'll share mine again. So mine is that I have all of the clarity, confidence, knowledge, and skills for when my next opportunity arrives. I'm holding that truth in this season of the pivot. And so I encourage you, whatever your career affirmation is, to create that for yourself and then drop it in the chat. I'd love to read those. I'm not savvy enough right now to record and also listen to read comments. And so if I don't see your comment, I'll watch it. I'll look at it after the video and respond. So like I said, tonight we are talking about 3 myths that many early career women believe. And then I'm going to share one practical next step that you can take if you're ready for that pivot. The first myth that I want to share that many early career women believe is that you need to have it all figured out at every stage in your career. This one is something that I wrestled with a lot. I'll share a brief story. I graduated from graduate school back in 2018, and I'll never forget, it was maybe, a couple weeks before graduation, and I was in my last class I was in my very last class for one of my classes. We went to a coffee shop, and excuse me, our professor asked us to go around and to say, everybody was to say what they were going to do next after graduation. And y'all, when I say I think my heart probably dropped down to my shoes, because I wasn't sure what I was going to do next. And I felt so insecure about that. Here it was, I'd been a college student for 7 years, and now I'm graduating finally with my master's degree, and I don't know what I'm going to do next. It felt uncomfortable. I felt like I was behind. I'm listening to all of my classmates talk about all of the positions that they've accepted. I had one person in my cohort was on their way to law school after graduation. And I'm like, mine didn't sound impressive. It didn't sound interesting. But what I learned about that is that you don't need to have it all figured out at every stage in your career, and that where you are is where you need to be. And if you're uncomfortable with where you are, if you don't like where you are, give yourself the permission to change that. I think that that's something that that's not one actually that I plan to say, but I want to share that bonus myth, that you give yourself the permission to change your mind. Give yourself permission to change course as an early career woman, that you're not pigeonholed. Don't box yourself in. Give yourself the permission to pivot as you need to. You just need to know how to pivot and when to pivot. And we'll talk about that more tomorrow, okay? So that's the first one. First myth that I learned in my early career, that I learned, and also that I see that many early career women believe, is that you need to have it all figured out at every stage in your career. The second myth that many early career women believe is that you need to center your life around work. Y'all, when I say this is something that I have struggled with for years, work has been at the center of my life. When I tell y'all, there were times where I was so burnt out simply because I would only give myself enough time to wake up in the morning, get dressed, get my son to school, go to work. I'm at work all day. I'm supporting students. I work in student support, and I have for most of my career. And I would literally go to work all day, leave work, pick up my son, go home, try to fix dinner, baths, bedtime, and then literally wake up and do it all over again. When I tell you I was so depleted because I just didn't have anything that was just about me. I was kind of like on this hamster wheel where every day just felt exhausting because I wasn't pouring into myself. And so if there's anything that I would share with a woman who's in her early career, before you develop those bad habits of not taking care of yourself, centering work, making work your identity, I would just encourage you, who are you outside of work? Who are you beyond work? And I'm telling you, it's going to require sacrifice. For me, I had to start waking up earlier because I had to say, you know what? Living a healthy lifestyle, it's important to me. I say that it's important to me, but I'm not doing anything about it. So y'all had to start waking up early. I'm talking about 5 a.m., 4:30 if need be, just so that I could get a workout in before work, so that I could center my mind, do my devotional, eat breakfast at home, whatever I needed to do to take care of myself. And I say this especially if you are in a helping profession, it is so important that you learn how to care for yourself outside of work. Because if you don't, essentially you're pouring from an empty cup. And I know what that's like. As somebody who has worked in social services, nonprofit, and education, I have poured out from an empty cup so many times. I cannot tell you how many times I've sat in a meeting with a student, sat in an administrative meeting, and my body is physically there, but mentally I'm somewhere else because I just did not take care of myself. And so I just want to encourage you today to take care of yourself. So many early career women believe that I just need to grind. I need to do it. I'll just do it for a season. I'll just grind out for 2 years and then I'll be able to get the promotion. Sis, once you get the promotion, you're going to be so burnt out that you won't even be able to enjoy the promotion. So if there's anything that I can share with you, I want to ask you to give yourself the permission to develop a life outside of work. And I'm not just talking about social things. I'm talking about what does it look like to radically care for you before you start caring for other people. For me, like I said, it was about building a morning routine. As a mom, as a working mom, I really had to set boundaries with my child and say, this is my time, that mommy needs this first hour of the day to herself. I want the house to be quiet so that I can reflect, so that I can think and prepare myself, so that I can mentally be present for all these other things. So it starts with you, okay? It starts with you. The last myth that many early career women believe is that you need to navigate your career alone. This is also something that I struggled with a lot. There were times, I shared this last night about one of the lessons that I learned in my early career, and that was asking for what I need. And I think these two go together. A lot of times we think that, well, you know, I know what I'm doing, or even if we don't know what we're doing, we still don't ask for what we need or ask for help. And I just want to encourage you tonight that if you're listening and you're saying, I want to pivot, but I'm not really sure how, you don't have to do it alone. That's why I created this series, to allow, to remind women that you're not in this alone. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands of women across the world who are also trying to pivot, and we need community. We got to do this together. We are in this together. So some practical things that I would share with you in terms of, you know, seeking community, you know, and what that might look like. One, you know, get a mentor. And I know people say that and it sounds a little bit cliche, but it's true and it's helpful. You know, think about who is somebody who's doing something that you want to do, right? They're in a position, they're in a field that you aspire toward. And one thing that I'll say about mentorship, I think sometimes we look at mentorship as though this is my mentor. I'm gonna meet with them once a week, every week for the next 6 months. Y'all, people are busy. People are overcommitted and overextended. And even if they're not, most people don't have the capacity for that level of mentorship. And so if you need a mentor, I would encourage you to create realistic expectations for what you're looking for from that mentor. So maybe they don't have the capacity to meet once a week or even once a month, but you all could check in. Maybe you can have an in-person or virtual meeting. You know, what does that look like? And then what I would say is don't overlook mentors that they may not be in the top position, right? I think a lot of times we go after the people that are visible, the people that are really out there doing great stuff, and that's amazing. But oftentimes those people don't have the capacity because they already have tons of people pulling at them. So who are the kind of unsung heroes that you can reach out to? Somebody that may not have this huge platform, but they're in the field doing similar work that you want to do, and they would be willing to be your mentor. So that's the first thing that I would say. The second thing that I would encourage you to do when it comes to seeking support in terms of your pivot is to look within your organization. And I must say, sometimes it doesn't always come from your specific department, and that is okay. You know, it may not come from your direct supervisor. It may come from the person above them or below them. And so I just encourage you, if you don't find the support directly in your department, do not give up, okay? Look within your broader organization. This is a tip that I just thought of, and I just want to share it just because it's come into my mind. Maybe you're at an organization right now and you're in a particular sector of that organization, but you have aspirations for another sector of that organization. I would encourage you to connect with somebody in that sector of your organization that may not be in your department, but is in your aspirational sector. Can you have an informational interview with them? Talk to them about what they're doing. Talk to them about their job, how they got in their role, all of those kinds of things. Because once again, that's building your network. And it's also, you know, starting that pivot. One of the things that I learned about the pivot is the pivot often happens well before you actually take a new job. The pivot starts with your mindset. It starts with beginning to envision yourself in this new place or environment that you would like. That's why I said, y'all, the pivot has so much more to do with resumes and interview strategies. It's so much about mindset. Sometimes we have to get outside of imposter syndrome. Sometimes one of the reasons why many early career women don't pivot as soon as they could is because imposter syndrome is holding them back. Mindset is holding them back. Y'all, we have to let those things go. We have to let those negative thoughts go. We have to begin to envision ourselves as though we were. My mom always says this to me. She says, speak those things that are not as though they already were. And sometimes we have to begin to say that. So when I say about creating an affirmation, to say, what is this season? You know, what is an affirmation that defines this place of your pivot that you're in? It's so important because it centers you. It grounds you. When you've applied to 50 jobs and you haven't received any callbacks, you've gotten one interview or one interview here, one interview there, those affirmations, that mindset work, that's what brings you back. That's what grounds you and reminds you, wait a minute, I am intelligent and capable. What I do not know, I am able to learn. I love an affirmation that my speaker coach says. She says, everything always works out for me. Those are the kinds of things that have to ground us when life is lifing, as we say, okay? So once again, I wanted to share those 3 myths that many early career women believe. And as I did last night, I want to issue a challenge to you, okay? The challenge that I want to issue tonight is I want to ask you to take about 5 minutes, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, okay? Not long. And I want you to get a sheet of paper and just brainstorm. And maybe if you're not like a pen and paper kind of gal, that's okay. Maybe record a voice memo on your phone. I started to get into that and I really like doing that. I record a little voice memo, go back, listen to it later. It makes it a little bit easier when I, don't have the time to sit down and write. Whatever works for you. And I want you to brainstorm, what is your ideal day? What does your ideal day look like? I'm not talking about, this is apart from work, right? This, we're not even adding work in there yet. I just want you to begin to dream about when you're on the other side of this pivot, what does that day look like? So I'll give you an example. For me, it was about creating a 5 a.m. morning routine. What does that 5 a.m. morning routine looks like? What does my 5 to 8 look like before I clock in? Because for me, I realized that 5 to 8 time was more important to me than that 5 to 8 p.m. time frame before I clocked into work became sacred to me. That this became my time. That this is a time that I intentionally spend building up myself, encouraging myself. I spend time in the Word, doing what's important to me before I ever pour out to anybody else. And I know that this looks different for everybody because we're all in different fields. Some fields are more demanding than others. I recognize that. But I just encourage you to just take 5 to 10 minutes to brainstorm. What does an ideal day look like for you? What are you doing? Who are you doing it with? What purpose are you working for? What values do you want to be at the center of your everyday? Okay, so take 5 to 10 minutes to do that. I would love if you, when we come back tomorrow, kind of drop some of those things in the chat. I would love to see those things. Tonight, what I'd like to do is to close out with a short prayer. I don't know who's watching this. I don't know what season you're in or what challenges you're facing as you navigate through your early career season. But I want to say this short prayer. I feel led to do this and I'm going to go ahead and do it. And that's how I want to close out. Oh, Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you for everyone who's under the sound of my voice. I thank you that the early career season, though it may be challenging, I thank you for the triumphs that come with it. I thank you today that many employers value early career talent, that they're looking for you. And I pray today for someone that's under the sound of my voice who may be struggling on their job. They may be frustrated on their job. They may be on the brink of a mental health crisis because they're so weighed and bogged down by their current job. I pray, Lord, that you would give them peace tonight. I pray that you would give them comfort. I pray that you would give them whatever it is that they need as they navigate through this early career season. I pray that you would bring the right mentors, the right people, the right advisors, the right guidance. I pray that you would open up their eyes to what you want them to do and ultimately to what you've called them to do in this season. Lord, somebody needs clarity on if they should remain or if they should leave. And I pray that you would give them that clarity tonight. Lord, more than me being a coach or a speaker or what have you. I pray, Lord, that you would use me, God, in only the ways that you can, by connecting me with the right people. Lord, as we lift up our affirmations, we believe that it's already done. We believe that we have everything that we need in order to take the next move. And I pray that you would speak through me, use me, God, in the way that you want. I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. I really felt led to do that. I recognize how challenging the ebbs and flows can be. When I tell you I've been there, I've navigated it, I'm still navigating these things to an extent. I've just learned enough to be able to share it with others. And so I thank you for tuning in. These lives are going by so quick. I hope I'm not talking too fast, but they're going by so fast. But like I said, this is the first of many live series that I'm going to be hosting. And so I'm grateful for your support. I ask, like I said, that you would share this with somebody who may find it helpful. Drop some comments in the chat. Let me know that you're here. And then join me again tomorrow for the last night of this series. So yesterday, I talked about 3 lessons I learned in my career journey. Tonight, I gave you 3 myths that many early career women believed. And tomorrow, we are going to be getting into strategy. What do I do now? Okay, Maria Tana, I hear you tell you gave me a lot of information, but where do I go from here? What are the practical next steps that I can take in order to make a successful pivot? That's what we're gonna be talking about tomorrow. Okay, so join me right here on Facebook Live, 6 p.m. Beat me there, don't meet me there. I will see you then. Peace.